Hey, yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy here in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I'm with my dear friend, Miss Theresa Buccico, author of one of the contributing author, to Clementino's Voices, an amazing collection of stories and experiences in the Latino culture. And so, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's just start with you. Maybe introducing yourself to our audience and letting them know a little bit about your contribution here to Clementino's Voices.
Yes, first and foremost, thank you for having me, Manny. It's a privilege, humble privilege, and also, like you said, great energy. Feel at home already. So, introducing myself, right? As you said, I am Theresa Buccico. I am one of the contributing authors in the Clementino's project, Voices, that came out as, I believe it was the 10th anniversary kind of project, and it was with Mass Humanities along with UMass Amherst Press is who printed it. So we received some collaboration. The contributing authors in the book were all part of the summer writing course that was done. My professor was Lucia Knowles. A couple of my classmates are in this book, like Louise, Murtaza, Jacqueline. We all shared a class together in writing these stories and coming together with this anthology. The Clementino's Voices book comes from the Clementi Course for Humanities. So I'm an alumni of the Clementi Course for Humanities, which is an adult learning experience for underprivileged or anyone who actually is reintroducing themselves in adulthood to college course credits. And it is the best college course credits that I've ever achieved. Bard University, they are transferable to any college that you want. So now I get to transfer them over to QCC. So it's a great experience. I can tell you, I just was asked recently, what was my experience? Give me a short quote of what it is. And I said, Clementi Course of Humanities has changed the trajectory of my life.
Wow, that's a big statement. I mean, a short statement, but it has big impact because you have had quite the experiences, the roller coaster that is life. A lot of ups, as we all, but also a lot of downs, and especially in your childhood. And it's my understanding, and my I've been trying to use big words. I need to stop doing that. But a lot of that is in the contribution that you put into this anthology. It was your own experiences and what you went through. Let's talk a little bit about your early childhood and what your experience was and how that led up to your contribution in Clementino's Voices.
Yes, thank you. I'd love to bring it back to a quick introduction even on the professional realm, because this is how I actually was introduced to the Clementi Course for Humanities, was through Everyday Miracles.
Actually, not to interrupt you, I really wanted to get there, but I really also wanted to make sure that we introduced you as the author first. But tell me, let's pause on this, and let's talk about Everyday Miracles, because, hello, thank you so much for my gift. It's an amazing program located right here in Worcester on Pleasant Street, and it's open to the public. Everybody can go and take advantage of this amazing resource, and we'll talk a little bit more about that part of it, but tell me how your interaction with Everyday Miracles led you to this here today.
Yes, thank you. That was the introduction. It was because Everyday Miracles is a peer center in the city of Worcester that is a great resources and all kinds of resources for people who are sustaining. So we're not a drop-in center. We do run by membership. So we'd love for you to drop by and check it out. And then after a visit or two, I'm sure you decide, hey, this is a place for me where I want to sustain my recovery, or I want to continue to come and create connections, right? So through those connections, the Clemency Course for Humanities came and did a presentation of the services that they had. And it really intrigued me as an adult that had a little bit of college, but not completed a degree yet. I said, hey, what other great way to be with my peers? So I started encouraging our peers, and we actually had a few of our peers sign up, I as well, and a coworker sign up. And I can say, long story short, it was a great introduction to professors in a world that I had not yet experienced, that also introduced me and inspired me to grow personally, and then introduced me to this storytelling piece of my life, which is, so the challenge of the summer course last year was writing your way home. Writing your way home meant for me that I needed to go all the way back to the beginning. Going all the way back to the beginning meant I needed to face a lot of trauma. I needed to face a lot of not healing, unaddressed healing. And with that, I was already working with peers, with people who were sustaining their recovery or still struggling with substance misuse and mental health, because we know it's a co-occurring thing.
Right.
And so I had all this experience, and then I acquired the knowledge piece. And then the combination has brought me here to be able to be brave enough and strong enough to say, hey, you know what? I'm not the only one.
Right.
We can do this together. And if I need to speak up, I didn't come this far to be quiet.
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of steps to this process. First and foremost is awareness, is acceptance of your trauma, of whatever you might be going through in the current moment, whether it's substance abuse, misuse, or any other mental health afflictions that you might be experiencing at the time. One of the things that I tend to do is isolate, right? So even though I may not be,
I love the word isolate. Go with it.
Yeah. So more so than maybe misusing substances, I go and isolate and kind of run from my problems and try to put my head under the pillow. Like, you know, when you were sleeping at night and there was, when you were a kid and you didn't know if the monster was in the room, but if you put your head under the blankets until it went away, it's kind of what I do in real life.
So what I did was I went into the room, I went into isolation, and I put a pen in my hand and a piece of paper.
Wow.
I've been writing therapeutically since I was about 11, maybe 12 years old.
Yeah. When
life started really hitting. And I realized, because I also had a Christian upbringing, I had a lot of biblical, I had the Bible in the left hand, the encyclopedia in the right? And so I decided that I wanted to mimic what I saw one of my favorite authors or poets is the Songs of David in the Psalms in the Bible. And I just found it so therapeutic. I found those cries so therapeutic. And I found it so therapeutic to cry on paper, in a pen, and be able, because there was nobody else listening many times, right? And so that's why when you said isolation, I said go with it, is because I like to take negative words or words that have actually a negative experience to it and put it in a headlock, flip it. Right. No longer has to stay in that box. I didn't have to stay in that frame. I scored on the ACEs test out this world, but I'm going to give them what they don't expect. And that's what my goal in writing and putting my stories out there. This is just a little piece. This is actually, United We Stand Through the Cries of an Opiate Orphan is a little introduction of my life. So it begins with how I met my biological mom.
Okay.
I was 11 years old. I was being raised by my single grandmother. I had not a clue that this woman was not my mom.
Wow.
And that reality was shattering, right? Yeah. And then I needed to get to the root of the problem. And so part of the intro that catches your attention is that I need to get to the root of the problem. And part of that root of the problem had already been buried with some people.
Right. And now I just want to pause and go back a little bit to when you were 11 years old. You're still a child, very much so. But that's a very traumatic experience for a child to now have their whole reality kind of shattered and trying to figure out how to put those pieces all back together with the actual truth, not really knowing how you want to deal with it. Like, there's just so much going on. When did you, how long did it take you to get to a point where you can become aware of that situation and now actually be able to get it out of your inside, and talk about it and really ultimately at the end of the day be able to be okay with it enough to then write a piece to contribute to this book?
Asking me to age myself there, huh?
Well, not necessarily years, but you weren't 11 when this all came to be, right?
Yeah. I'm no, and I'm saying that jokingly. I don't have a problem at all with my age. I think with age is definitely transpired this wisdom and this ability, right, to share my experience. So this happened when I was 11 years old. I've had my second writing is already coming out. A second piece of writing
Congratulations.
is going to be coming out through the Clemente Course for Humanity. I did my second summer course of writing, and this piece that's coming out contributes to. It's going to just stay tuned. Is what I'm saying is that there's pieces coming out. I could only give an introduction of self here,
right.
And the introduction of self is saying that there was roots of problem that I hadn't addressed. That there was women in my life that I needed to go back and acknowledge that, hey, we come from somewhere and we carry things with us, that this wasn't all me, and that the accountability that I was going to take for where I was in life, I also needed to say, hey, this is where it came from, and then set us all free. And that actually came out in a poem. And I apologize, I'm going to throw a few things in there, but because they're connected, right? Yeah. My poetry is connected to my writing and vice versa. I actually came out with a poem called United We Stand to the Cries of an Opiate Orphan 5 years prior to being introduced to the Clementino's Course of Humanities.
Okay. So absolutely a full-grown adult. So you went through life with this burden, of what am I going to do? Like, what is really my family? What is really my reality? Which led you down the road to other experiences that ultimately led you to Everyday Miracles and to this amazing course.
Yes.
Would you like to talk about that road and what that looked like for you and how you came to a place where you didn't have to rely on outside or external substances, if you will, in your case, and be able to hone it in to, as you said, crying out your I don't want to say problems, but what's going on, your emotions, thank you, through a pen onto paper and making it something where other people can relate to, which I think is the most important key aspect of this book. Is it's almost like a Bible of relatability. Real people with real stories that you can relate to.
Exactly, you hit it right on the head. So part of the journey is in the story that I write here, United We Stand, right. Is that
sneak peeks only.
Nope. Right, exactly. Yeah. That's why I'm being cautious. So it comes to
no spoilers.
I'm 24 years old, right, and my biological mom passes away. And at that point in time, I've already experienced my own drug use, and I decide that I have kind of really underplayed my own drug use. I've really underplayed how trauma has affected my decision making and where I was at in life. And I decided that this was not the path I was going to follow.
Yeah.
That I needed to do something drastically different if I wanted to break the chains that had been set before me. And so with that, I went back to the beginning. I knew my biological mom had been a Spectrum Health client. And I'm in college class courses at QCC for human services because I'm going to go back into the field. And because in my nature, I'm always a caregiver and always been a person that wants to contribute or give back somehow. And so being a lifelong resident of Worcester, that's another thing. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but I was raised since infancy here in the city of Worcester. So this is my community. I've always said I wanted to give back somehow to the place that saw me grow up, right?
Right. That raised you.
That raised me,
Yeah.
right? And so my mom passes away when I'm 24 years old. I decide completely right then and there, abstinence, right? There's going to be no more drug use in my life. That's not the way to live.
Mm.
But the healing process, and that's why I'm using the word abstinence, because abstinence is one thing. Recovery is just a fancy word for healing.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to heal from something. So my healing process needed to begin. And that was jolted by unfortunate events of life that my grandmother passed away. So in 2016, I lost my rock.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing is you used whatever substance it was as a crutch, as a healing method in the moment, just something to help you from feeling all that pain and maybe burden that you were carrying since 11 years old.
Substance misuse, so let's be unfancy a second. Using drugs or alcohol to numb out any kind of experience or pain is a coping skill.
Yeah.
It's a negative coping skill.
But it also shouldn't be demonized. Don't you agree with that?
That's why we've changed our language.
Yeah.
So on the professional realm, right, I am actually Massachusetts certified peer specialist. I'm a trained recovery coach.
Thank you, by the way. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I got the education because I had the experience. And that's one of the beautiful things about peer support is the first validation to being in the field is that you have lived experience.
Right.
The second thing is
because who knows better than somebody who's been through it?
There you go.
I'll stop for myself on that one.
Yes. Yes.
But right,
That's
I mean, you because I've, and not to get too far off track, but like I've been through therapy, and I'm sitting here like, no offense, but this is like a 24-year-old girl who went to college who had never lived in the world I lived in. You know what I'm saying? She might be from like a suburb of a well-off family and things like that. So how can she possibly help me in my therapy? You know, and that was very distracting for me. Now I have someone who has lived experiences, who may be younger than me, but also has those similar experiences to my growing up. And so I bring that up to say like how important that is, that you and others, specifically in Everyday Miracles, and peer support fields have that lived experience.
Yes, it's vital. And that's actually what brought me into the peer support field out of case management, because I did start at Spectrum Health in case management.
Yeah.
And I actually got very irritated sitting across from the table from a few people saying, you don't have a clue what I've been through. Some people were really honest with that, and
Right.
I loved it because it gave me the nudge to go, I do know.
Right.
And I'm going to speak up about it because maybe I present well. Maybe I've made it far enough to put this together that you can't see the
you can't even see what I was. Yeah.
Exactly. So let me paint the picture for you. Let me show you what it's been about, right?
And the other thing is too, what a beautiful example you're setting as far as I can come in there beat down, drugged up, feeling the worst I've ever felt, thinking that nobody in the world can relate to me. And then I get to look at you, someone who's already been through what I'm currently going through, and see what my future could look like.
And
isn't that beautiful?
Right. And not only look at a person like me, but sit down with me, have a conversation, look at you in the eyes. I'm a big person about humanizing somebody.
Yeah.
And that's why I came into peer support, to humanize this treatment and this interaction, this connection, right? Because people are not just another number.
Right.
People are not just clients.
And people are not their affliction. You know, a lot of people like to call people homeless or drug addicts or whatever but that's not, whatever they do, whatever their issue is at the moment is not who they are.
Exactly. My behaviors are not who I am and are not a complete definition or a deduction of my humanity.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be calculated and placed in a certain position depending on how I have behaved. Everybody is equal and should be treated with this humanity.
And as a matter of fact, it should be quite the opposite, as far as instead of being a deduction, it should be a magnification, as in, hey, I need help. I need somebody else to step in because I can't do this all by myself, which is why I'm doing A, B, or C to help me cope, to numb it out, to get me through this day, whether it's 5 minutes, an hour, or 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for people,
mm-hmm.
you know, when you're out there all by yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or you feel like you're by yourself. And one thing I don't think a lot of people realize when they get into any kind of substance abuse, misuse, or what have you, um, is that it brings you further and further down to the point where you don't feel like you can get out of that hole, at the very least on your own.
Yeah. No, it's a very, very lying. It's a very deceitful coping mechanism.
Oh, bro, because it feels so good in the moment.
In the moment,
it feels so good.
The escape in the immediate, and it's instantly gratifying, right? And so that's what happens generationally as well. Is that these coping mechanisms are passed down as non-spoken. And that's a piece too, that these unspoken things that are passed down, right? These behaviors of how to deal with life. And you said a piece earlier about, you know, sitting in front of a person who has no past like your own, right? That they've lived a completely different lifestyle than your own. What I learned to admire about that was, what have they done differently that maybe I haven't tried?
That may inspire me to try something different.
What have they been exposed
until this very moment?
What have they been exposed to that I haven't had an opportunity yet, and I'm going to make an opportunity for myself? There are halls and doors that I never thought I could walk through that now demand my presence.
Okay, I'm gonna stand for that. I love that. And if we could just take a quick break, because I got so much more I'm ready to talk to you about and learn about. And I'm loving this conversation. It's really, truly warming my heart and giving me so much hope, where I thought sometimes hope was lost, from being real with you. But speaking of hope, I want to thank our sponsors. Hold up. I want to thank you guys, because you're our biggest sponsor. Just by tuning in and supporting this every day, it means the world to me. Liking this is one of the best things you could do to make sure that we are going and growing. And it's free. Just to press the like button. Also, I want to reiterate that we are now on YouTube. So if you have a friend out there that you want to watch us and gain some of this knowledge that we're sharing, and the resources and information that we have to share here at Manny J Media, we are at Manny J Media, MANNYJAEMEDIA, on YouTube as well. So you can watch us there anytime. Yeah, I actually have some friends who tell me they just press play while they're doing their chores or whatever around the house. They can listen to me, so you don't really have to sit there and watch us. I mean, today I would recommend it because we are gorgeous right now. So you want to watch. But on a regular, check us out on YouTube as well. And we will be expanding to other platforms, with actually podcast platforms coming soon. Anyway, let's go to the commercial break and thank our wonderful sponsors. We appreciate you guys.
Manny J Media is brought to you by
What's good, everybody, and welcome back. I appreciate you so much for joining us here on Manny J Media Interviews with my friend Theresa Buccico. I was so scared of that last name. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm terrible with names, but I think it's because I love you so much. I got your name, and I'm happy with that. I'm proud of us and getting through what we're doing today, because this isn't an easy topic, even though you're making it very easy to absorb, because your presence, your smile, your light, now that I think about it, is actually a real testament to how far you've come from those dark days in your beginning. Now, I'd like to go back there, because there's so much in your story, and I know you're trying to get what you can in this limited amount of time. I want to redirect your story back to this, actually. So explain to me again what this is.
So this is a framed newspaper article, the Worcester, I think it's the magazine or Telegram Gazette. Let me see that really quick so I don't misspoke on that. Yeah, Worcester Guide.
Worcester Guide.
Wow, that's throwing it back
yeah,
to the
that's
80s.
way back. I don't even know if that exists anymore. Does
don't-
Worcester Guide, John, do you know if Worcester Guide exists anymore?
No.
So the Worcester Guide,
Look at how cute.
1987.
Aw.
I was at the Institute Park Latin Festival, and this
And
is
that, like, let's be real. Back then, the Latin Festival was popping.
is,
It's cool now. Don't get me wrong, but it
we-
was popping.
3 days, the
Yeah.
whole Friday through Sunday,
Carnival, the whole night.
stage.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So I've had this framed, this picture framed in my living room since I think the passing of my grandmother, so about 8 years ago. And when I was writing, I kept on looking up and seeing United We Stand, United
Yeah.
We Stand. And I was going back to childhood in this writing. And I decided that if we could stand as a community in festivals, in song, in dance, in art, then we should also stand in unity in this other piece of pain. And let's talk about the healing process. And let's talk about where we've come from, but where we want to go.
Right.
And that's where this whole development of this story began. It began from the journey of 11 years old, realizing my grandmother was not my mom. And
What did you do in that initial moment of realizing, like, just kind of walk me through maybe the first, like, year or two when you realized your grandmother wasn't your mom, right? Someone that you've, for 11 years, loved, called mom, like, everything that has to do with school, like, that's your mom, right?
Yep.
And now you have this mind-blowing realization that I have a mom I never knew.
mm-hmm.
How did that make 11-year-old you feel, and what did you do initially before you got a little bit older and started using other ways to cope? If you can
Shame.
remember. Shame. Yeah.
Isolation, silence.
Mm.
A piece of that is in the story that
Did you feel like your childhood was kind of over
short.
at that point? Yeah, exactly. Cut short, yeah.
Yeah, definitely cut short. And it was a quiet time in life.
Mm.
It was a reflective time. My grandmother, who was raising me, also, she didn't have substance misuse issues of drugs or alcohol. Her substance of choice was food, so she was extremely obese. And her mental health conditions were manic. So the medications and all the things that she took since I was a young age made me hypervigilant of behaviors and made me hypervigilant of when to speak and not to speak, when I should interject and not say anything at all.
Right. Because you don't want to make things worse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't wanna make grandma upset, and grandma was the only thing you had, and
Right.
Ma, and as I call her, and one of the things that in my writing I have to clarify here and there is that I call my grandmother Ma because that's who raised me, right? So
For 11 years, that's all you
whole-
knew. Like you said, Ma, and there was no question about it.
There you go. And when my biological mom did come into my life, it was very short-lived. She still continued her substance misuse. She happened to be actually, and it's once again in the story, I'm just going to give a little piece of it. She's actually pregnant, and I don't know that. So I explain a little bit in the story as well, this angelic glow that this woman has when she enters the car.
Mm.
And come to find out, she is expecting my sister, who was born HIV positive and had passed away by 10 months old. So that was another I went to my first funeral when I was in 5th grade.
My deepest condolences,
Thank
because
you.
I know it's been a while since since the tragic passing of all of your family members that we discussed today. Condolences to all.
Thank you.
But as I'm sure a lot of people who have experienced death in any amount, whether it was a friend or family member, can understand, is that pain. It doesn't get better. You're able to deal with it and cope with it as time goes on, but it's always there.
The
when
best
you lose
thing
someone.
I think, in my opinion, I think the best thing that you can do with grief and loss is learn to live with it.
Yeah.
If you try to ignore it, it just amplifies itself in negative
It
behaviors
grows
and other ways, and it
yeah.
grows in ugly manners instead of taking the best moments. And one of my favorite phrases, I have a shirt, the Sandlot shirt, that says, "Legends never die."
Yeah.
Right?
That's one of my best favorite movies and
Right?
a great saying.
Right?
That's
So
right.
with that, right, I took all these sayings and all these phrases, and I was getting all these nuggets of wisdom along the way that really just made me believe,
Yeah.
right, that there was something else, that yes, I could hold pain and I could hold happiness.
Right.
That I didn't have to have one or the other or give up one because I had too much of the other.
Right.
And in my writing, I think it reflects that. I think that's the inspiration to my writing, is to say, hey, listen, tragedies are going to happen.
Yeah.
I've been
It's
through
life.
a few. It's
Yeah.
life. It's part of the journey.
We were talking today before I came in here. We were talking about how, I'm having a day, and you were like, hey, that's life. And I was like, yeah, we got to go do what we got to do.
And
we
kudos for
keep
being
it moving.
transparent.
Yeah, thank you.
But because
I'm human, right?
really?
We all are. Make sure, yes, we're here. It's real skin.
Right. But that is part, I think, of the problem.
Yeah.
And that's in the beginning of my opening statement. When conversations are taboo, pain is past.
Yeah.
So let's have a conversation and pass down healing. Let's have a conversation and pass on connection that heals.
Right.
Let's stop passing down pain.
Right.
And unresolved trauma as if it's a physical trait. Because part of that funny story, long story, that was really controversial as a child, I'll give this point, my dimples. So I didn't talk about my dimples.
They're so cute, though.
I got them from my mom. And my mom got them from her dad.
I could see where your mind could go with that.
So my grandfather passed away before I could meet him. I was 1 year old, never met him. He was HIV positive, early 50s, heroin use. We call now opiate use recently pandemic, epidemic. I call it the inner city tsunami of the 80s. The inner city tsunami of the 80s was heroin use with needle leading to HIV. Yeah. It swept the cities. And so talking about my dimples or someone asking me where they came from would have to bring up that history.
Right.
So I'd shy away. Let's not
like
have
you
that
really don't want to know that story.
Right. You don't know where I got these from.
They're cute until you hear how not cute the actual story is.
Yeah. But then once again, taking that negativity or taking that experience and as I said earlier, putting it in a headlock. So science actually about dimples. It's a deformity. It's a muscle that never developed or connected in your cheek.
Listen, I'm proud of my little dimple.
So there you go. I am proud today
I like my dimples.
of my disadvantages.
Yeah.
I am proud today of my scars. I am proud today of everything I experienced and I can tell you about.
Yeah.
And there are a few things that aren't ready. There are a few things that I'm still working on. Don't put a check mark in me. I'm not at the finish line.
Right. Will we ever be? Or is the finish line, you know what I'm saying? What we don't really want to talk about? Because, I like to think, even when I'm 80, 90 years old, I will still have things to learn.
Exactly. I'm a big believer in it. As long as there's breath and life in me, I will have something to learn and hopefully something to contribute. But that's all going to be a determinant of my mindset. It's all going to be what are my thoughts? What am I allowing to stick and stay in my head?
Yeah.
And that was part of the struggle of even writing, editing, going back and forth with Professor Knowles. One of the things that she spoke about with my writing and going back and forth with her editing, I wanted to stay true to my voice.
Right.
I needed to stay true to my story. And yes, there's a silver lining, but I needed to show the raw and the real of it as well.
Right.
And so I never wanted to put my mom or my grandmother in a negative light, but I needed to give the reality of the situation was my mom popped in my life when I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
She, because of her own substance misuse and not her inability to maintain recovery, she lost her life by the age of 43 years old. She never met my children. There are still pieces of myself that I'm trying to figure out how to heal because I have two daughters that I can't pass down this trauma to.
Right. You want to break that chain here.
Breaking it here, breaking it now. There is no way that we can continue to pass on that baton.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
So you bring up your daughters. If you don't mind, respectfully, I'd like to ask another leading question. We are almost out of time. You're going to come back, right?
Yes.
Because I could talk to you about mental health all day long. And we're going to get back to the book in just a second.
And we do have Recovery Month and Overdose Awareness Month coming up, that we have to have these conversations. So we have to continue them.
We might just have a new show brewing here, folks.
Yes.
But what I do want to say is when it comes to your daughter, when it comes to the future generation, that now, because your awareness and your advocacy for can really play a major role in breaking those generational trauma chains. What is the story you're telling them when it comes to their family? Because they've had a lot of trauma and loss, even though it may not have been directly in their lives, right? Mm-hmm. And while they've been alive, it's still something, maybe when they get older, where'd you get your dimples from? And they got to say, my grandma, and maybe that'll bring, what is the story that they know? And how did you maybe change the narrative to where it's not so negative and hurtful, but it's actually a good thing as far as making the future brighter for future generations?
I'd love to read the closing of the story. I think it might answer a lot of those questions.
Okay. Please do.
There was a time in my life when I believed my soul was broken. Looking in the mirror, I couldn't unsee the reflections of Estrella, Theresa, and Amelia in myself. Would history repeat in me? Living past the experience of the women who had come before me would take strategy and strength. Could I do it? Now, some wounds have healed. I have beautiful scars. Learning and telling the story of intergenerational trauma is the process I'm using to mend my heart and mind, body and soul. These are no longer the lonely cries of an opiate orphan, but instead the song of a woman who stands united in memory with her mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, loving them all back to life as Ma did for me. That's where it is.
That's dope.
That's where it is.
That hit. Just see me swallow a gulp.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's where I have arrived, to that point where I'm ready to let people know that, hey, we can laugh together. We can cry together. We're going to make it through together. And most importantly, let's leave something behind.
Yeah.
That people can look back and be like, legends never die. Let's leave a souvenir.
I love that. I think that's amazing. And if that's any indication of why you should not only get this book, which where is it? Is it available on Amazon right now?
So it is available on Amazon, okay. But
But more importantly,
you can get a free copy at the book launch. Free copy, lunch, raffle, 61 Harvard Street, Salisbury Mansion, this Saturday, the 27th, from 12 to 2 p.m. It is the book launch, the first book launch. You will get a free copy and an autograph.
I was going to say, not only do you, because my thought was, go on Amazon, overnight it, get to this event tomorrow, beginning at 12, and get your autograph and get to meet Theresa. She's an amazing person, and you give everybody equal time and opportunity and love. I just met you, by the way. It was this year or last year? This year.
About a year.
That we had did
through Everyday Miracles.
Through Everyday Miracles, we had did a live stream there. Unfortunately, for some reason, that maybe by the design of the universe, that live stream's gone, so I can't even send you back there to watch it. But I've been growing a fantastic relationship with you, and the beautiful thing is you do that with everyone. I don't know how you have the time or capacity, but you do, and you're amazing.
God's
and in front of everybody, no, I hope this don't feel weird, but I love you, and I love what you do, and I think it's amazing. And I need you guys to go out and support. If you can't go tomorrow for whatever reason you're busy, go on Amazon and buy your copy. If you can make it tomorrow, you get a free copy and lunch and an autograph.
Yes.
Amazing.
There is more book launches in Springfield, July 28th from 2 to 4 at the Olive Tree Bookstore. In Holyoke, Wednesday, August 14th from 12:30 to 2. Brockton, Sunday, September 15th at Sunrise Steakhouse. And in Boston, Tuesday, October 1st at Just Bookish. So there's a few spots you're going to find me at.
Word. So you actually have a few opportunities. I love that. So if you don't mind, can I have that? Or
I will get you a copy of it.
all right. Or just take a picture of it on your phone and text me. That way I can put all these dates on the description above. Or in the YouTube video to be the description below, so that you guys can attend these and at the very least meet this amazing soul that's doing so much good in the community. You found it? No, that's no. That's not the right one. There's a different one when we're in the bigger room. There's like big tables. John's looking for the video right now. We're like a table, like a U-shape type thing. Not that one. No. And yeah, so John found the one where we did go there with the mayor.
Oh,
which
yes.
I don't know if you were there that day.
I wasn't. I missed that one.
But Everyday Miracles, can you just let everybody know where it is? Because I don't know the exact number.
Yes, Everyday Miracles, 25 Pleasant Street, Worcester, downtown. If you were standing at City Hall, look straight up Pleasant Street, and you'll see the purple sign on the right.
And it's for everyone. Just so you know, like, I don't have real substance, and I say real because I smoke weed, full transparency. But I don't really have substance abuse issues, I guess, if you will. But I still feel completely welcome, and I feel like there's a lot I can gain from being there. So I do like to go when I do go. It's a beautiful experience, and even if you don't feel like there's anything for you to gain, but maybe a lot for you to give.
And maybe not just for you, family, friends. If it's not affecting you personally, you might know a family or a friend that is it affecting, and you need some resource on how to help that person and love on that person. We're there for that too.
Absolutely. And before we go, I just want to do one quick shout out to my homies over at the Summer Jam event that's going to be happening August 10th. Make sure that if you don't know, you go check out Summer Jam, mainly because the reason why I bring this up is it's a great way for us to bring our inner city kids together and give them something to do, something valuable with their downtime during the summer, because, listen, idle mind is the devil's playground, and we need to be preventative with our kids, right? We need to put them in programs and situations where they have purpose, because one of the things I learned when I went to Everyday Miracles, everyone had a similar mindset and objective, which was to have purpose.
Yes.
So if we can provide that purpose for people in a preventative light, maybe we can help people from ending up in situations where they got to dig themselves out of a hole later. So Everyday Miracles Summer Jam happening August 10th at Crompton Park in Worcester. Make sure you go out and support our kids. They need us.
We'll be there.
They need us. And more importantly than everything, because we are going to go right now after I say this, Clementino's Voices is available now. Available free tomorrow from 12 to 2
But also on
at
Amazon.
Salisbury House Ballroom, 61 Harvard Street in Worcester. Teresa, thank you so much. I appreciate you. It's such a pleasure. Can't wait to have you back. Like you said, mental health awareness, all kinds of weeks, months are coming up, and we're going to do this again because this was just too amazing to not do it again. And with that being said, this has been another amazing and very informational and thoughtful, heartfelt episode of Interviews with my friend Theresa Buccico. It's been great to have you. I'm Manny.
I'm Theresa.
And this is Manny J Media Community Delivered. We'll see you real soon. Peace. Get out.